Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The jury system is magnificent. It is used the world over. It is seen as the best system for dispensing justice because the prosecution has to convince a jury of the absolute guilt of the accused. If there's any doubt, the accused is innocent because it must be beyond reasonable doubt. It is a fine system. It adds protection because it protects the accused from the establishment. The jury are peers of the accused. They are not part of the establishment. They can be quite random. They can sometimes deliver weird results. But the point is that it is not controlled by those bringing the prosecution. And as I say, this is tried the world over because it is the best system. But the Scottish government have decided that because one particular crime isn't resulting in as many convictions as they would like, that they're going to scrap the jury system. And that means that you will be arrested by the establishment in the form of the police, prosecuted by the establishment in the form of the Procurator Fiscal, and your judgment would come from the establishment by way of a judge and not a jury. There is no way that this can stand. It is the sort of thing you would get in a dictatorship. Think North Korea, think Communist China, because there is no jury, there is no protection. And why? It's because either the prosecution cannot do a good enough job to secure a conviction, or the evidence just isn't there for this particular crime to be provable. And that is a problem for the SNP because they are saying that far too many men are getting away with the R of women and that its failure to deliver justice is seen as a reflection on them. The fact is that the jury find people innocent and it is the jury that is the problem for the SNP. This is why they're scrapping it. And it's very controversial. Let's have a look at this article. So, backlash begins at the SNP's anti-democratic plan for juryless trials as lawyers threaten boycott. Scots lawyers call on judges to stand up and help us defeat this after the SNP put forward plans to make Scotland the first country in the world to introduce non-jury trials in a bid to secure more convictions for this particular crime. And this is the problem they have. In their view, too many men are, quote, getting away with it. In actual fact, they're not getting away with it if they're found innocent. They didn't do it. And this is the point. So what's happening is, we're not jailing enough men for this crime. And so you're going to have this situation with no jury, that the establishment will have targets. We must get so many men convicted of this crime, that it opens up the doors to massive miscarriages of justice when, without a jury deciding that is not guilty, that there is not enough there is enough doubt and uncertainty. A judge will sit there and go, ish, maybe, but I've got, we're about 5, we need an extra 5 this week. No, he's guilty. You can't guarantee that won't happen. There is no way, and there is no way of lifting the offence away from the establishment. The jury provides a buffer because the jury is not the establishment. And of course the SNP don't like that. They want total control. You are removing rights and freedoms long enjoyed because they need to remove that power from people and hold it and vest it within themselves. It is worrying, it is wrong, and if it's only this trial now, but how long before it's the next thing and the next thing, until eventually there is no jury trial at all in Scotland. There is a reason why they will be the first country in the world to do it, because every other country in the world knows how good the jury system is. It's just that the Scots, not the Scots generally, the SNP, have no idea what they're doing. The proposal for single judge trials in the National Specialist Court for Sexual Offences is one of a number of radical legal reforms that would also spell the end for the not proven verdict, which I think is actually an excellent thing. You don't have that in England or Ireland or Wales. It's only Scotland. Scotland's the only place where you have not proven, and I think it is an excellent judgment. It's been put forward after a review by Lady Dorian, Scotland's second most senior judge. She raised concerns that jurors have outdated attitudes to R and other crimes. No, I don't think they do. I think you have an outdated attitude in terms of freedom of the people. I think that anyone who suggests removing rights and obligations from people like this is dangerous and worrying. Why does she want to get rid of juries? We have to ask this. Why does this woman want to get rid of the jury system? Is it because she cannot control the outcome of what goes on in her court? If she, as a judge, suggests removing juries from trials, then she must stop being a judge forthwith. She must be removed from office. She must never be allowed to try a case because she now has an anti-jury bias. And every time she sits in a court and there's a jury, you know the judge is biased against them. She has just spelt her own doom. I think she needs to go as a judge. It's obvious that that is the case now. She doesn't like juries. However, as the consent of the accused is likely to be needed to participate in the pilot project, the scheme may fail to get off the ground if lawyers advise their clients not to take part. I can guarantee every single lawyer will tell his client, no, don't do it. Go to the jury. It is easier to convince someone on a jury of your innocence than it is to convince a judge who's got a target to hit. Matthew McGovern, a defence lawyer based in Hamilton, tweeted, "No client will ever be exploited as part of a social experiment to satisfy the demands of the special interest groups. This pilot is not in the interests of justice." And Edinburgh-based solicitor advocate Stephanie Clinksale said, "Completely agree. Lawyers must never be complicit in unfairness or injustice. I will not be accepting instructions in any judge-only trials. I call upon all my colleagues to do the same." And they're both right, because anyone, any man, randomly could be accused of this crime, even if he didn't do it. Well, especially if he didn't do it. You could be accused by someone with a grudge, and it's happened. We know it's happened. We've seen cases of it time and time again, where there's been grudge accusations, and people have had to go to court. Their lives have fallen apart. Jobs have been lost. Some people have even ended their own life over this. And if you found yourself in a court and there was no jury, and it was up to a judge with a target to meet, and it doesn't matter how flimsy the evidence is against you, you could be sent to prison for 8 years, 9 years, whatever, and you're completely innocent. The scale for miscarriages of justice is immense in a non-jury trial. Leading advocate Thomas Ross, KC, said, "Spirits lifted this morning by a number of solicitors already declaring that they will take no part in legitimising non-jury trials. Hopefully our judges will stand up and help us defeat this. Scottish lawyers from all backgrounds, sheriffs and judges too, must speak out against this proposal. On an issue as important and fundamental to fair trial protections as this, I'm afraid even silence amounts to complicity. In other words, don't be quiet about it. Stand up, shout and reject." Now, why does the SNP feel this need to remove one of the basic core tenets of justice that has served the world well since Babylonian times? I mean, the earliest recorded sort of trials that human beings ever did were, in Babylon. We're talking 5,000-6,000 years ago. And they had juries. It's a good, true, proven system. Now, obviously, in Scotland, you have 15 jurors. Most of the rest of the world, it varies, but it tends to generally be 12 good men and true, as they say. Obviously, women, I'm just using the term there. But the fact is that you have these jurors. They're all individuals. They all have different life experiences, and they're not part of the establishment. And so therefore they have no fundamental interest in finding you innocent or guilty to meet any kind of target or make any kind of make the optics look good or anything. They sit, they listen to the evidence, they go into their little judgely huddle in the jury room, and then they emerge with a guilty or an innocent decision. It is not up to the government. It is not up to anyone putting pressure on the jury like a judge can be pressured in this case. Oh, we need this man to go down. Can you make sure it happens? Because that sort of thing could happen. Anyway, Lady Dorian's review has found that our myths might influence jury decisions in sexual offence cases. They have been defined as false or prejudicial beliefs about the relevance of a complainer's actions before, during or after serious assault to their credibility or issues of consent. I see what she's saying, but I do think that context must be everything. And certainly the fact is that when you swear the oath, you say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But the whole truth means the events prior to the action as well as those after. And to allow a judge to dismiss context, because he could, whereas a jury will still have the context in its mind, I think damages the ability of the courts to administer blind justice. It's as simple as that. The Victims, Witnesses and Justice Reform Bill was put forward at the Scottish Parliament by Justice Secretary Angela Constance, who said the plans would improve the experience by those who suffer sexual abuse. Yes, but it won't improve the experience of innocent men who won't have a chance of proving to a jury that they're being set up, that they're being fitted up for a crime they didn't do, or that the person bringing the accusation is lying, as we know happens. There's no protection, and then therefore the accused becomes a victim, this time of that miscarriage of justice. Our Crisis Scotland welcomed the bill, saying, what we all want is a system where we can be confident that the evidence being heard in these trials is being assessed fairly and objectively. Are they saying then that at the moment the evidence being brought is not being assessed fairly and objectively? Because I'm pretty sure it is. She said, and it isn't influenced by false assumptions or attitude towards women. I think that when you look at your average jury, it's about 50% women. And so if there's any sort of outdated attitudes about this crime, are you saying it's women having these it's women who are the victims? Are you saying it's women who have the outdated opinions? It's a very weird thing. Are you saying that people in Scotland are so awful that you cannot trust them to arrive at justice? In which case, are you calling for a ban on all jury trials? Because what makes that crime any different from any other crime? I mean, obviously, in terms of the participation of the court, the participation of a jury in the justice system. Why is that different from anything else? There are other crimes that could fit this bill. Why just that one? It's a very weird thing to say. However, Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman Jamie Green said, while there is reform needed to improve outcomes in our cases, it's important we don't unravel the sanctity and fairness of our justice system. And a Scottish Government working group said that where single judge trials for serious offences have been adopted, for example in countries such as New Zealand, Australia, Canada and the United States, it is the choice of the accused. That's right, and the accused would never choose it if he could avoid it. The group said there was no instance found of jurisdictions introducing alternatives to jury trials specifically for these cases. These are cases, meaning that Scotland would be the first to introduce non-jury R trials if the plan went ahead. And Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain, KC, has said Scots do not have a legal right to trial by jury and called for a public debate on the proposals. If Scots do not have a legal right to trial by jury, then the law must be brought in to ensure they do have the legal right. Because imagine being there saying, well, it's all right, we've got this, you've been accused, we know that they can't prove it because you were materially elsewhere at the time, the alibi. We can prove you weren't the person doing it. We can prove you were somewhere else, so you don't have anything to worry about. And the jury will believe you, and you will get off. And then you're told, oh, there's no jury for this trial. And you go, hang on, we want to have a jury. Oh, you've got no right to a jury trial. We're trying you. And we need to find you guilty before we even start because we're a bit low on our annual number of cases that were found guilty. A man who could be provably innocent could end up going to prison. This is what happens. Miss Constance told the BBC that there was vast evidence that in many instances juries are influenced by false and stereotypical views. Well, let her show what that evidence is, because she cannot have any evidence, because what goes on in a jury room is secret. So how does she know what goes on in a jury room? The only way she knows is if she's in that jury room, and that is illegal. So there is no way that she can say categorically that juries are influenced by anything like that, because it is a secret. They do not know. And that just goes to show how outdated her views are. So, this is a woman who now needs to be removed from office. That's the judge. She needs to be removed from office. She must never ever sit on a trial where there's a jury. If you've got a defence lawyer there and she's the judge, the defence lawyer must stand up straight away and object to the judge being present, because the judge has an obvious bias against juries, and that could be a line of defence. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. So where will it all end? They remove the jury trial for all crimes. Will all crimes in Scotland now be at the whim and mercy of one single judge controlled by the establishment? It seems to be the SNP cannot be trusted on justice. It's hardly surprising given who their previous Justice Secretary was, Humza Yousaf, a man who has brought everything he's ever touched into a big steaming pile of crap. And then, of course, the irony is, even if you abolish all the juries for all crimes, and if someone is convicted, even if it's wrongly, for this particular crime, the R crime, chances are the court only give them a community sentence anyway. That's what happens when you R children in Scotland. You don't go to jail for R'ing a child. You just get 270 hours community service. So, the Scottish legal system is turning into a joke under the SNP. That rule was brought in by Humza Yousaf, of course. And now he's leading a government that's trying to overturn and get rid of juries, because juries do not obey the SNP. This is where it's going. It's a one-party state. And Humza Yousaf will be its leader if he can possibly have its way. There will be no trial by jury. There will be trial by the state, overseen by the state, prosecuted by the state, and judged by the state. There is no protection. It is appalling, and it must be rejected. And at least the lawyers are saying they will reject it. But they do need to go ahead and put that law in that guarantees the right to trial by jury. And I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. But mostly, leave the like. That's the big one. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of prison, and goodbye.